Hi, this is to share three articles that are from the Palestine Chronicle, and I do suggest that people subscribe to this and give their support. Unfortunately, because my card is for some reason banned for use online. I can't use it online. I've had to ask other people to donate on my behalf. But you know, I do ask people to please spare a little bit of time to think about what is being shared in this video and what is being explained. Collective post-traumatic stress disorder, Jews, apartheid and oppression. And that is what the people of Palestine are suffering, because Palestine's like a child. The global arena, the political and financial arena, they're the crowd standing around while the child is getting bullied. And nobody's doing anything about it, except, you know, we might hear a squeak in Parliament off Labour or somebody now and again. That's about it. And what is most disgusting about this, about what's been done to Palestine, is that it was done after the United Nations was settled. And the whole idea of the United Nations was to prevent exactly what has happened in Palestine. To prevent rich people from invading native people's lands and taking control of them and persecuting the natives. And what this world did was, it gave the Zionists, who'd usurped the Judaic faith, it gave them a little leg up and said, well, all right, us established nations, we've all got our power by invading other countries, colonising them and persecuting and robbing the native peoples and denigrating them. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to give you the chance to do the same in Palestine and gradually throughout the Middle East. From there you can get powerful enough to take control of the whole Middle East. That is what they did. Okay. And alright, there were set borders for Israel within the nation of Palestine. The Zionists did go into their land that they'd been given illegally by the United Nations and Britain, and they mercilessly persecuted the native peoples and divided them all up. Now, in Palestine at that time, there were Christian Palestinians, Jew Palestinians, and Muslim Palestinians. The Jew Palestinians, natives, spoke out very strongly against the Zionists and were completely against the creation of the State of Israel. Because Jah law was going to create the state nation of Israel, not any law of man with his weapons. Okay. Now, people need to understand the history here on which the invasion, brutal occupation of Palestine by Zionists was justified. And that was through the Holocaust of Hitler. Well, first of all, I'm not a Holocaust denier. I do accept that German Jews and European Jews were heavily persecuted, tortured, experimented on, imprisoned, incarcerated, enslaved and murdered by the Nazi psychology. And not just them, any other group that psychology didn't like. 6 million Jews did not die. The Zionists have been bemoaning the plight of 6 million Jews since the beginning of the 20th century. Even before the First World War, they were bemoaning the plight of 6 million Jews, either in Russia or in Europe somewhere or wherever. 6 million Jews were always at risk, and because there were 6 million Jews suffering that risk, the Zionists needed money, they needed donations to set up their own nation, because they had to have their own nation, because they keep being persecuted, you see. 6 million of them. So it was always 6 million, and it never changed after the war. They carried on with the same mantra and took it to the United Nations after World War II. And with that same mantra, they were granted, oh, poor Jewish people, and the whole world accepted it. They should have their land back. Well, you know, the native people of Palestine did not evict the European Jews that invaded their country. They did not evict them. Those people had left. They were scattered throughout the earth. A core remnant of the native people remained. Some of them had become Christians. Some of them had become Muslims. Some of them were still Jews. And they all cohabited quite peacefully together. They helped each other. They respected each other's faiths. They'd learned to live together. And then in come these foreigners, so-called Jewish people, and that's the key. That ish, okay? Because that's what the Zionists are. They are Jewish, in the same way that the Pope is Christianish, in the same way that the Saudi and Iranian clerics and elite, zealot elite, are Muslimish. And then we've got the Hinduish, haven't we? And the Buddhish, but it's all ish. And we need to eradicate this ish. Because true Jews, like I say, spoke out against the creation of Israel from the start. And a lot of intelligentsia of Europe and America spoke out very strongly against it. They did not trust the Zionists. Remember, the Protocols of Zion had been published, I think it had been published in English in 1911, and it's disgusting, you know. You can read it for yourself, what they think of humanity and how they believe that only they are the chosen people, you know. Everybody else, we're just cattle. And Yahweh, apparently, has made them our leaders. They've got a divine right to treat humanity like cattle. And people need to understand the truth, that actually those same Zionists had funded Hitler. And they funded that entire Nazi regime because they believed, like most of the aristocracy of Europe and America at the time, in eugenics. And they knew they were going to get the nation of Israel. They'd already been granted it by Britain, okay? But now it was getting the justification for establishing it, wasn't it? And they funded Hitler specifically to ethnically cleanse the Jew people of Europe, okay? Because ethnic cleansing, they were already doing it in America. In America, before Hitler, Americans were systematically sterilising anybody with mental health problems. They were preventing people, you know, insisting people go and have a blood test before they get married, and all kinds of things they were trying to implement. And that's why Hitler was made Man of the Year. He was given Man of the Year award by Time magazine. Was it in 1936? the Zionist elites of the world fully supported Hitler. His philosophy was a carbon copy of everything that's written in the Protocols of Zion. Everything. And they funded him, and they paid him to kill their own people, to persecute, murder and kill. So, alright, he didn't kill 6 million. It doesn't matter how many he killed, he did it. And the German Jews were persecuted, and they were killed, and they did suffer, and they were tortured and experimented on. As a group of people who were isolated just by their faith that they were born into. And it was outrageous. And as I say, it doesn't matter how many. The fact that it happened, and it happened en masse, and masses of people of a nation, German citizens of Jew faith, and that's all we need to know. That a group of people, that groups of people, according to their politics, their faith, their abilities, their disabilities were, large portions of them, large portions of people were judged inferior, unwanted. Those people, you can use them as slaves. You can experiment on them. You can kill them if you want. You can rape them. You can take everything they have off them. These are the philosophies of sadists. And they always seek to justify a reason, a rationale for their sadism, for their crimes. So, obviously, the Zionists, after World War II, they had the perfect justification now, didn't they? Hitler, look what he's done to Jewish people until we get our own country, you know. And so the world, oh, poor Jews, yeah, we'll go and give them Palestine. And what did he do when they get into Palestine? God's people. They evict families from their homes. They kill people. They participate in a brutal, evil occupation. Instead of going in there with all their money and wealth that they had, and making it a delight, because that's what I mean about true Jah people. Even if the United Nations would give them a place in Palestine, they would have gone to that country and they would have said, okay, these are our borders, but you know what, Palestine, we're going to build you beautiful homes, because Jah has returned to this land now, and all you people that are living here are going to know that Jah has returned to this land, because every single one of you are going to benefit from our presence. We're going to give you beautiful homes, we're going to improve the lands, we're going to make sure that there's access to water, we're going to provide healthcare for everybody, because that's the reason why we wanted to come back to Palestine, so that we could live lawfully as Jah intended us to, in love and peace with our brethren, and show this world who Yahweh really is, who Allah really is. Male, female, male, female. See, Jah. God is both male and female. It says it at Genesis. If you're not going to accept that, then, as I say, throw away your Sabbath day. If you're not going to accept that Jah said that let us create man, both male and female, in our own image, and set them to tame the wilderness. If you can't accept the reality that Jah, therefore, is both male and female, If you cannot accept that, then please throw away your Sabbath day, because you cannot have one part of the story without accepting the other. And that's the fact of it, that man is both male and female. And that is what Jesus taught, because Jesus understood the scriptures, and he understood how to remove the wheat from the chaff. He understood that a lot of what he was witnessing was of genuinely righteous people who've been persecuted and oppressed and taught and denied the rights to live lawfully and with love, and how those people have been traumatised into getting angry and to, you know, and he understood that the prophecies weren't threats, they're just an explanation of what happens when people do not live lawfully, and that if people do start living lawfully and with Jah love, then those things won't happen. But if they carry on, then those things will happen. But then what you get is an evil psychology that picks up on the prophecies, twists them all around, sticks them into revelations, okay, and then uses those as a blueprint and a justification for committing every horror on this planet in order to kill and control people and destroy our planet so they can profit. And then everybody's saying, well, of course that's happening because that's what the prophecy said. As if Jah, what did Jah do then? Just create humanity for us to take part in his script? No, because Jah gave us free will and choice, and that's what Jesus came to remind the people, the Hebrew people, about. That look, because at the time that Jesus was around, Palestine was occupied by Rome. And, you know, that's why Jesus was crucified, because that was a Roman torturous death. That was a Roman form of death. The Muslims believe that it wasn't Jesus who was crucified, actually it was Judas. But it doesn't matter whether he was crucified, whether he wasn't crucified. What matters is what that man taught the world about Jah, about the truth of Jah. And that's why we know that these Zionists are working for the devil. That's who they are. They are Lucifers, Luciferian, the morning star. Call themselves the morning star. That's who they are. They are the people that judge the day good and the night as bad. Okay, when, no. The day can be both good and bad. The night can be both good and bad. It depends what us, as a human intelligence, decide to do within it. You see, these divisions are where they get their power and their justifications for sadism, because they enjoy inflicting pain, because they know they profit from it. And so, as I say, they used Hitler to ethnically cleanse their own people, so-called, but they, you know, as I say, they weren't their own people. They did not consider these European Jews to be true Jews. They didn't want that riffraff flooding into their new state. And the Jew people need to understand this. And even the Zionists, because I know that a lot of the people who are Zionists, they're not really inherently evil. It's just that their brains have been indoctrinated with filth from birth. And they've got a lot of people around them, powerful people, that support that. And that's why I know how difficult it is. You know, I don't judge people personally for the fact that they were born into a consciousness, but I do say to those people, you do have a responsibility to get yourselves out of it once you realise it isn't true, and to disinfect your heart, because your heart will be full of all kinds of hates and prejudices and judgments, but you just need to understand they're not yours. It's just baggage from antiquity that the people that brought you into the world, they were carrying. Here you are, love, this is the family baggage. But, you know, to the Zionists, the rich Zionists, it isn't baggage, is it? That baggage is privilege. And we need to understand that these privileges are equally as oppressive for the individual human host, who should be a host to jar light. Though the privilege seem like an advantage, they are a disadvantage to your own soul and the future of your soul in this universe and in life. And so what can be done? The only thing that can be done is for the human beings to remove the labels of Zionism, okay, to step out of the Zionist protocols, to recognise them for what they are, written by Satanists who are against Yahweh and who have used the name of Yahweh to justify brutal occupation of Jew, Christian and Muslim native homeland. That is what they've done. And they're an evil, brutal force who think that they should be able to control the whole earth and all the life upon it. They have no mercy. They are most unkind. They have no understanding. They have no forgiveness whatsoever except for themselves. They are unintelligent. They are absolutely afraid of and detest Jah law. And that is why they have caused discord and hatred, brother between brother, sister between sister. And that is why they are Jewish. Okay, they are not Jew. And true Jews, I do feel for those people. As much as I feel for the Palestine people, I feel those people have to carry such a burden because all of this is being done in their name. The same as what goes on in Britain is done in my name. And I am completely against it. I don't support it. But at the same time, as a British citizen, I can be the subject of hatred from the people and countries that my country has stamped on. Now this is a poem by Stephen Bracken Sprinkler. Imagine a world where anyone can do anything to anyone else without fear of being punished. Imagine a world where someone is being attacked and there are crowds of people witnessing the event and no one ever intervenes in any way. Imagine a world where human rights are not afforded and guaranteed to individuals and everyone is forced to rely on and depend on the goodwill and consistent right actions of the rest of the citizenry. Imagine a world where no one is concerned about what is happening to others as long as it is not happening to or affecting them personally. Imagine a world where there is no avenue for redress or grievances and you must be the recipient of anything anyone else decides to do to you. Imagine a world in which the above things apply to yourself, your family and the rest of humanity. Now ask yourself, can you imagine yourself or your loved ones wanting to live in such a world? We are our sisters and brothers' keepers. Speak out and act against violations of human rights and dignity. Remember it. Remember it could be happening to you or your loved ones. So that's Palestine. But you know what has struck me about this poem is that every single word of it is exactly my experience of growing up as a child and even living as an adult in Britain. And when it comes to addressing crimes against children, this is exactly where Britain is. And is it any surprise when we understand that our entire government and economic system is run by the same Zionists who are persecuting the people of Palestine? Okay, and this is exactly where we are, and those bastards of human consciousness are now colluding to scrap our human rights. Okay, that's what they're doing. They're going to scrap our human rights. I think it's the autumn, after the general election, which is probably going to be rigged again. In autumn, they're scrapping human rights and introducing their Bill of Rights, which nobody has seen yet. It's been put together by a set of Tories. And they're going to be imposed on Britain. And Europe can't protect us because we're out of the EU. So they can't do anything at all to protect the British people now, as our human rights are being violated. And the first thing their Bill of Rights does is give absolute supremacy to the British court. No other court can have any supremacy over the British court. The British High Court. Not the EU court. Yeah. Because they want to take absolute full control. They've already took full control of our economy. They took full control. They've robbed us of all our businesses, all our independent businesses. We are becoming a corporate farm. And everything that's happened to the Palestinian people is going to happen to the British people. Okay. And as I say, Zionists that who refuse to abandon their false, evil, satanic philosophy and doctrine, Christianishes who refuse to abandon the evil, twisted revelations of Cerinthus, who's stolen the prophecies from the original Testament, who believe that they should follow that like a blueprint. It's a script. Jar's giving you freedom to go and pollute the earth and kill everybody. Okay? No. No, sorry. Wrong. You got it wrong. So you're either going to get right and benefit from that, or you're going to carry on living wrong, and you will lose everything you have. Okay? Whatever you gain, you will lose forever. That's the fact. It's not a threat. It's what happens when you break the law, and you keep ignoring it, and you keep on breaking the law, and then you commit more crimes and get even more powers out of breaking the law. Because you've got no honour. But the people, Jar people, are going to wake up. They are waking up now. We are waking up. And we understand that you are wrong. And we understand that Jar intelligence, Allah intelligence, is right. And there is nothing you can do to break down the golden light. None of your gold, none of your physical gold can compete with the golden light of universal intelligence that is Jar law of abundance and compassion. And Jar is happy for the Muslim to be Muslim, and the Jew to be a Jew, and the Christian to be a Christian, and the Hindu to be a Hindu. But Jah is, all of them are founded on the concept, understanding of Jah in humanity that created us. And all of us uphold Jah law. And that's the point. And that's why, like I say, the Zionists are not Jews, they're Jewish, right? They're Ishes. Because if they were real Jews, given a real chance to have their own state, do you think that they would live in that kind of filth and hatred and disgusting horror that they've inflicted on most of the population? That they would force their population to live in such divisions? No, because they want to keep that little war going, because they want to keep those hatreds and divisions going, because they want to use those hatreds and divisions to wage war and take control of the entire Middle East, which is what they're already doing through their banking system. Because that's what it's all about at the end of the day. It's about having making sure humanity is cattle, and the Zionists are on top as humanity. Okay. That is what they are about. And they are wrong. Jah explains they are wrong. Jesus explains they are wrong. Doesn't matter what they call themselves. The Ishes. They're all of one psychology. And that's sadism. They enjoy. They seek. Always seeking justifications for acts of sadism. They never ever want to be kind or merciful. Or humane, okay? And they use the anger and pain of the traumatised of history to justify their evil and illegal criminal actions of today. Because, like I say, if those Zionists really were from Yahweh, the whole of Palestine would be the most beautiful nation anybody on this planet could imagine. And they had the chance to do it, but what did they choose to do instead? Well, take a look at it. And ask yourselves, Israeli people, don't you think you're at risk when your Zionist government, who's supposed to be representing you, is bombing your lands in Palestine? Because those lands, you're all one land, and they bombed your lands with enriched uranium and phosphorus, and you think that's alright? You think all that dust is just going to stay where it is in Gaza? You see, because you are living very, very, very far away, Israel, from Yahweh, and that's why you will all suffer. You know, and that, as I say, it's not a threat. It's what happens, you know, when you ignore universal law and you just step off a high cliff. Expect to be broken and bleeding and probably dead at the bottom of those cliffs. And so what? Are we going to say, the prophecies come true? I said that if you keep on walking that way and you don't stop, you will end up smashed to bits on the rocks below. Oh, I'm a prophet. The whole point of the prophecies, as is proven by the story of Jonah, proven without a shadow of a doubt, the whole point of the prophecies is to warn people about how horrible and terrible life can get when a society lives lawlessly. And so, you know, I appeal to the people of Israel especially, and I know that there are a lot of the people of Israel are totally against what has been going on. I appeal to you good people to rise up, to allow your love for Yahweh to rise and sing Yahweh's praises and make the land of Palestine a beautiful place. That it really should be, because that is when God's people return to the land of Palestine. When the people of Palestine receive, as hosts, receive jar golden light into their heads and heart.